Hey, howdy. Geezer here. Sunday morning. Yeah. Thought I'd go over some of the stuff I use to haul logs out, since it's too wet to do anything about there today. Got a half-inch of rain since I got up this morning, so it's supposed to rain off and on all day. So I thought I'd go over some of the stuff that I use, and the stuff may or may not work for you, so you just got to find what works for you, but this is what works for me. I find toe straps of all different sizes. I got some 4 inches and some 3 inches. I got some 2 inches that are kind of short, but the 2-incher ones tend to break. They don't take much abuse, so that's an issue. The 3 and 4 inch ones hardly ever break. And I just try and find them on sale. Here's a 3-incher, but 60 foot long. And I went down to the neighbor's the other day with this one in my Hummer, and we pulled he had his truck and his camper stuck in the mud, so we got it out with that. I got some 3-inch tree savers, but I use them for other things. And 2-inch ropes. I got a couple left that I haven't broken yet. But the secret to not breaking toe straps or ropes is to don't jerk them. Jerking's what breaks them. If you just apply steady, even pressure, you'll get the job done without breaking stuff. Now, I'm on my 2nd or 3rd season with this spool of rope, and I use 1/2-inch polydaclyn rope. Now, triple strand. I buy triple strand because I also have a Maslin rope puller, and it takes triple strand 1/2-inch rope, so I use that. I use that sometimes, but I pull everything with this 1/2-inch rope, and I buy it in 600-foot spools. It made me this redneck winder, so I can wind it up when I'm done. And I buy it. This is a 600-foot spool of rope, and I bought this big spool of rope because you can't tie a bunch of small ropes together and expect to get them through the pulleys. It just ain't gonna. It don't work. So you need one long rope, especially working on these hills, because sometimes I put out almost 500 feet of line just stringing it back and forth before I'm even ready to pull. So, but I get these from a place called Sergeant Knots, SGTKNOTS, and they're up in price a little bit now. They were $125 for a 600-foot spool, and I got one in the garage, a brand new one, for a backup. But this one's on the 2nd year for sure, maybe the 3rd year. I don't really remember. But it's handy. And then being all one piece, if you make some kind of little winder, and all I did was put a bar down through the post here and some washers underneath and a piece of pipe here so it don't splinter or blister my hand, and works good. But probably the most important thing that I have is really those toe straps are great for pulling logs, but sometimes the log is laying so close to the ground you can't get a toe strap under it easily. So that's where a choker cable comes in handy, because it's got a solid end and you can shove it under the log and get it up on the other side, and then bring it around and hook it into here. And hook onto here. Now, it comes with this 3 pieces of chain hooked in the eyelet here, factory eyelet. And I put this clevis in here, and after I used it a couple times, it pulled together a little bit. So the clevis is now a permanent part of the cable, which is fine with me. But I got this one from Stahls, STAHLS, Sawmill and Logging Supplies in Mount Pleasant Mills, Pennsylvania. And I bought it in, it says in March of 21, so it's 2 years old. and it costs $17.35. So they're probably a little more now. It's a 1/2 inch by 7 foot choker cable, and it works good. It's worked good for me. It's hauled everything I wanted to haul with no issues. Yeah, the pulleys, the two most important things on pulleys to me is, one, they got to be of the proper size for your rope. So all mine handle a 1/2 inch rope with no problem. And they're expensive too, and I just watch them for when I catch them on sales or on Prime Day. When I get a discount, I'll get a couple. And I have 2 of each kind. They usually buy them in pairs. And the most important thing on pulleys for me is to get ones that's got a grease fitting. I've had a couple that did not have a grease fittings, and they didn't last. They blew up. So just get the ones that's got the grease fittings. These are all just regular snatch blocks for towing, and big enough to handle a 1/2 inch rope. But now these ones over here are a little better. Of course, they got the grease fitting too. They're called yarding blocks. They're a little more expensive, but man, they're really nice because they have a fancy setup here so that you can keep it hanging there and put your rope in and out and stuff without having to unhang it. So they're pretty nice. They're pretty handy. I got 2 of them. On all my... Sometimes you can find them and they come with their own crevices, which is handy. See, these are made by BPA Racing. They're 10 tons. I buy all mine that are rated for 10 tons because that's probably the biggest log in the hole. And here's another pair that came with their own crevices, which is handy. And these did not. So, and I keep a wide selection of crevices from 1/2 inch to 1 inch full. And I got 2 like this. Big ones, yes. I got these at a surplus store online. And these are handy if I gotta use 2 or 3 pulleys on one log. I can get them all on here. And keep them kind of lined up, then it helps. So, but then I got a couple of these that came off some old chains, and these come in handy a lot to get things hooked up and tied on. You can put this fits that piece of chain there on the choker cable, and then you can tie your rope off onto here. You know, as I understand rigging, it's only the pulleys that's moving that apply the force multiplier. So you want the pulleys that are tied to the log, they're moving with the log, so you get the force multiplier. The ones up here on the anchor don't. So sometimes you just got to keep adding them to make it. That's why you need 600 foot of rope. But I use any brand of pulleys as long as they're big enough to handle the 1/2 inch rope. And I watch for sales, clearances, find them on eBay sometimes, just wherever. And usually, if you're buying them new, they come in pairs, usually. And which makes it handy, so when you use them on one end or the other, they're even and lined up, and just makes for a neater rope arrangement. But the most important thing on pulleys, I said it before, I'll say it again, is to have a grease fitting. I had a couple that didn't have grease fittings, and they're gone, they broke. And one of them, we was pulling along, and we heard a big kapow, and we went and looked, and the non-greasable pulley was shattered in pieces. We never did find part of it. It's out in the woods somewhere, who knows where. So, but then you need a good selection of crevices of different sizes. I got them big ones, I got little ones, I got 1/2 inchers, I got 5/8, I keep all kinds. I keep all kinds. Just whatever, you know. When it comes time to start putting things together, you just use what'll work. And, I even got a couple of 1 inchers here. I always try and use the smallest ones I can get away with. And I find clevises are like the rope and the toe straps. If you're not jerking, stuff don't break. If you apply slow, steady pressure, then when everything gets taut, then give it a gas, things work out better. But if you start doing that, backing up and getting a running start, you're going to break probably the rope or a snatch block. You're going to break something. So you don't want to do that. You want to avoid that at all costs. Them toe straps will break too. The biggest problem I have with toe straps is I get them cut. So it's out here in the woods, they get hung up on thorns and things, and you're pulling them and they tear and cut, and then they get weak. So with the 600-foot rope, I don't use them too much anymore, except to wrap around the log or the anchor tree. I use the rope. So that's the deal on my pulleys with the grease port. For me, I don't care about the brand, the colors. As long as they got a grease port, they work. And then rig you up some kind of toolbox or something to haul them around in, and I just keep them with me all the time. And get you a good choker cable, because the choker cable's paid for itself many times over. As you can apply a lot of force with that, and it don't slip. Once in a while, the toe straps will slip. Not often, but once in a while. Another way to, when you get it rigged up, get your rope around your pulley set. Another way, quick way to tell, 2 quick ways to tell what your total combined multiplier is. You always want to have this rope tied off to the load. If you do, then if you just envision that your anchor tree is a beam in the roof and your load is hanging, you can count the lines on your load, and that's what your multiplier is. So if you got 3 lines, you're a 3-to-1. If you got 4 lines, you're a 4-to-1. But if you got the rope tied off on the anchor end, that don't apply. Then you got to figure it out manually. So I always make sure my rope is tied off on the load. It makes it simpler, much simpler. And just remember, only the moving pulleys are force multipliers. The ones up on anchors, they're just like change of directions. So, but in my case, working on these hills, the first pulley is always a change of direction to get to the vehicle. So then you go down to the load, through the pulley, back up through the anchor pulley, and tie it back off down at the load. And however many pulleys you got, you're just going to have the same number of pulleys on each end. 2, 2, 3 and 3, 1 and 1, whatever. And it works out. And there's some calculators online. You can figure out how much a log weighs by the diameter, the species, and whether it's wet or dry, and how long it is and stuff. And the biggest one I ever pulled was supposed to be 9,000 pounds. Whether it really was or not, I don't know. But it was a struggle, but it got it up the hill. But that's the deal. Prime Days is coming up. You can get some pulleys, get some discounts. And maybe they'll come back down in price, when things settle down here with the supply train. Pulleys were pretty reasonable for my first couple of years, and then they took off here when the COVID thing, which was a crock of crap. But yeah, the rope was $125 for 600 feet, and it was up to almost 300 there for a while. So then last I looked, it's back down to 2 something. Might even be lower now. I haven't looked in a while. Same with them choker cables. They probably went up from 17. But a good choker cable is worth its weight in gold. And the first couple of times, after you use it a couple of times, you really like it. I keep mine in there with the pulleys in the box. So I got, and then you probably want to keep you a couple of small pulleys too that you can buy for like with the little winches, because there are times when you're just using a small winch to pull something and you want to get a force multiplier or something. And, so I just keep them. Any winches, any pulleys, or anything like that, I never throw away if they're good. If the equipment they go to got bad, I keep them. Keep these, keep the parts. So, but at any rate, that's all there is to it. I mean, there's nothing. For me, the challenge is trying to figure out how to make it work. Somebody made fun I only use 2,500-pound winches, but that's all I need to get most of the work done. So why go bigger and more expensive when you don't need to? Now, I got a 12,000-pound winch I put on the front of the old red now and then when I need it to haul logs up on the pile, and once in a while we need it. If we can't get the truck close enough and the ropes don't reach, we use the winch to get them started up the hill. And then you want to keep you enough pulleys so you got backup. So if something does break, you got backup parts. Same with winches. I catch them 2,500-pound winches on sale for like $69. I got 2 spares in the garage, and I caught a Harbor Freight 12,000-pound winch. They had them on sale not too long ago for $290 or $299 or $289, something like that, under $300. So I scarfed her right up. It's in there. It's in backup now, because that one's about 7 years old. So I figure, who knows? But I have a spare now. So spares is the name of the game. So that's it. That's all I got on equipment that I use. Oh, and the can hooks and PVs and stuff, all that stuff you got them already, or you will have them. But for me, it's just all trial and error. You got to find out what works for you and what you can deal with and what you like and how it works for you. Okay. Friday, 0600. See ya.